Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trenopole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of Jackpot Joey Burrow and the Bengals and the Reds. They lost today. I'm not talking about them today. Let's talk some Bengals football. We are a little over a week from all of us getting together for the first gathering of Bengal fans at full capacity, training camp next Saturday. I cannot wait. Now, do me a favor. If you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. I'm up to 1,242 subscribers. That is awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys. And as always, we're doing super chats in the YouTube channel. So if you guys would like to support what I'm doing, give me a super chat. And I would greatly appreciate it. Now, this show and every show is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, like I said, we're going to talk some football today. We're getting closer and closer to it officially being Bengals season. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait. I know ESPN came out with their rankings of the Bengals, and then PFF came out with their rankings and broke down different groups with the Bengals and all that stuff. And to get the best information, I got to go to my main man from Pro Football Focus, none other than Evan McPhillips. Evan, what's going on, brother?
How we doing, man?
Good. I'm glad you made the show. You got in that. For everybody who doesn't know here or doesn't live here in Cincinnati, Ohio, President Biden is making a visit today, and I'm assuming that's the traffic you got stuck in, or was it a semi-truck, or what was it, man?
There were cruisers all over the place, man, and they were just going 25 miles an hour, coasting right up to my exit, and I was like, oh, man, just please let me get there. And then about 50 feet short of the exit, they set up shop, man, and right off of Kilby, man, and we were sitting there for a solid hour. Man. I mean, not even moving. I mean, people were outside of their cars. I was debating whether to get the basketball out of the trunk and just dribble around. I was bored just sitting there for so long, man. I'm jamming to some Led Zeppelin. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. So I'm glad I made it, though.
Didn't you go to the police officer and say, hey, look, I'm Evan McPhillips. I'm from PFF. I have to get on Sports with Strawberry Ice and show at 5:30. Can you give me a police escort?
No, I'm sure if I would have dropped your name, then they definitely would have let me by. That didn't occur to me. I was thinking I'm nobody. They're going to just put me on the ground real quick and think I'm trying to go meet Joe or something. I don't know.
Right. Totally. Exactly. Well, I'm glad you made it, man. And let's get into some of the stuff that Pro Football Focus has gone as far as rankings with the Bengals. And we can start discussing that there with the season coming up. The first one I brought up here is the wide receivers. They got the Cincinnati Bengals ranked 13th. And this is the Bengals core wide receivers, being the big three, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So what is your thoughts on this?
So to start, I know 13 may seem very low, and there's definitely an argument for that. And I just want to point out, firstly, this is receiving core, including tight end. So guys like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, these guys are factored in and treated, especially as receivers, especially guys like Travis Kelce, who actually, when you look at their snaps, play more receiver than they do inline tight end. So that's factored in. And with the Bengals having solid but a rotational kind of group there at tight end with some injuries and some unproven factors there. Drew Samples coming along, but still has more to prove. That does weigh them down a little bit. I think if you're looking just at wide receivers, then it would be really hard to keep them out of the top 8 or so. And a lot of that is you could go even higher, arguing, give or take 3 spots between 10 and 5 or what have you, based on how much of a projection you anticipate Jamar Chase, whether he comes in, hits the ground running, whether T. Higgins continues to dominate like he did. And there are some stats right there that I see Jeff is highlighting on the screen. It's the connection between Chase and Joe Burrow. We've talked about how special it is, and there's no reason to think that he cannot hit the ground running that way.
Exactly. Then you got T. Higgins. His receiving grade last year among rookies is 79.0. It's a massive catch radius, making him a mismatch threat as the depth chart gets stronger. However, Chase and Higgins take the pressure off Boyd, who has become one of the league's most dependable wide receivers. Now, I think Boyd is a very underrated wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They got him, I think, here it was a 72.0. For the last, he's got better each of the last 3 seasons. He'll continue to work out of the slot, where his 793 yards were the 3rd highest in NFL in 2020. I really do think Tyler Boyd doesn't get the pub that, as for what a good wide receiver he actually is, because he's been the man the last 3 years, to be honest.
Oh yeah, he's been great. And that's the thing is he's played with he's almost had the DeAndre Hopkins treatment where he's had some quarterbacks coming in and out between Dalton, Finley, Burrow, back to Finley, even Brandon Allen got in there for a little bit. So he's been doing well and consistently with all of these different quarterbacks, been a safety blanket for them because like we said, the tight ends, while solid, are a little bit unproven or are just around that average, to where Boyd has really been that underneath safety blanket that all these quarterbacks have been able to find and rely on. And his route running there is really spectacular. And though he may not have the most exceptional athletic numbers, he definitely makes every bit count on his routes, and every step and the nuance of it is really impressive. And so he's definitely been one of the better slot receivers. And I think he's also got I want to say the most slot receptions of 20 plus yards over the last 2 or 3 seasons too. So he's been effective down the field as much as he has underneath as well.
Yeah, I'll get to a little bit here. It says you guys got rid about the tight ends. And I know a lot of Bengals fans are concerned about the tight end core this year. With CJ Uzomah coming back from, Achilles surgery, and then Drew Sample was what Drew Sample is. And you got, which they don't have listed on here, which there's no data for it really, but Thaddeus Moss going on here. But they got him ranked, let's see here, 51.1 and 29th in the league for Drew Sample. Let's see here. Sample lead the way with 40 catches and just 349 yards, 8.7 yards per reception a year ago.
And to be fair to Sample real quick, too, we knew coming out that blocking was his specialty. He was very limited in what he was asked to do as a receiver coming out of college, and that the receiving game was going to be a bit of a project, and he would come along in that regard. So seeing him with that 51.1 receiving grade, a little – obviously we kind of want more projection. We want a little more upward trajectory there, but that's to be expected that's going to take time, on top of the fact that tight end is one of those positions that usually takes at least a year or 2 before they hit the ground running. His blocking grade did improve this last season, though, and I want to say it ranked top 15 among tight ends as well. So it was nice to see him get back to his roots and at least be a very effective blocker.
Exactly. Now, I know you have some other stats that you had queued up. I had other stuff queued up, which I still haven't queued up, but right now my cursor is spinning and it won't let me click on anything else. So if you got some, so you will get with some of the information that you said you had ready to go for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking a little bit before we jumped on here, and a little bit on Twitter, just back and forth about what you wanted to discuss. I know we talked about what do the projections for the Bengals look like as a whole here. So when you look at, obviously, I like to borrow the Jake Liscow way of thinking of the range of outcomes, right? Because it's very definitive to say this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. There's more likely a range of outcomes, right? And it's in a bell curve to where we've got the curve in the middle with the large distribution right there of outcomes with some outliers. So looking at the outliers real quick, we know Vegas, I think the over-under is set at 6.5 right now. So that's where they're like, okay, are the Bengals going to win 6 games, 7 games? What are you thinking that's going to be the kind of line where they see them, or at least the public sees them? Looking at the bottom 10%, as in the season goes horribly, these are the bottom 10% of outcomes that you could generally expect according to our model or projections. That's 5-12. That's one game below really what Vegas is kind of anticipating and kind of putting that number at. So if you're thinking about that as the goalpost there, what they think in that 6 to 6.5 game range, the bottom percentile outcome according to the model is almost right there. It's a game difference, which one game in a 17 game season is a big deal. But at the same time, if your bottom 10% outcomes where everything goes wrong still gets you just short of what the national media is expecting, then we're really expecting that the Bengals can really surprise some people this year, to where if you look at the other end of the spectrum, let's say Carmen comes in and plays like an average level NFL guard as a rookie. We get Riley Reef in here. He continues to not allow sacks or tremendous amounts of pressures and be a solid NFL tackle like he was in Minnesota. Then you're going to have the opportunity with a healthy Joe Burrow to be one of the best offenses in the league. And that 10th percentile, or sorry, the 90th percentile outcome, that top 10%, when everything comes together, we got the Bengals closer to 10-7. So there's a lot of wiggle room there on the positive side if you're looking at the Vegas win total of 6.5 as sort of your baseline that you're going for. So overall, you would say the projections that PFF has for the Bengals as a whole, we expect them to exceed Vegas's expectations. So if you're into betting, then the over 6.5 may be something you want to put some money on, especially if you want to get another reason to get even more behind your hometown Bengals. Really put your money where your mouth is. I know I'll probably be placing a couple bets with that regard
Exactly.
as the season too, but it's definitely a large range of outcomes falls in what I think the national media and people would consider as a positive or successful season for the Bengals in the sense that they win more than they are generally expected to by the betting public or by the national outside media.
Exactly. And I'm having all kinds of problems here with my camera, so I had to so we get a face up look. Now, one thing I've talked about, you brought the betting odds for the Bengals. It's at 6.5 for Vegas. Dude, I'm taking that all day long. I've said that on the show a couple times. I'm going to place a bet on that one. I don't see any reason why the Bengals can't win. I mean, they've got to win 7 games. 6.5. You got to win 7 games. I mean, my orange sunglasses prediction is, what I have. I have 11 wins, which is, I know it's huge. It's a big.
That's almost the 90th percentile outcome, which right. Yeah, you're looking at the higher side, but it's not unrealistic.
Yeah,
it's not like
it's
a
doable.
1 or 2% chance. It's definitely realistic.
But if you want to go more for, I think a solid bet is taking the Bengals at the 6.5 because I cannot see unless Joe Burrow, God forbid, Joe Burrow gets hurt again. Mm-hmm. I don't see how in the world we can't win at least 7 games this year. I mean, I really do think realistically, I think we're more 9-10 wins. I mean, like I said, my orange sunglasses is 11 wins, but I just think talent-wise, if you look at the Bengals, they have upgraded in every area. The one that I'm worried about is depth, and that's at the linebacking core, to be honest. And now with Adeniji getting injured, I'm a little worried about the offensive line depth. I'd like them to add a couple guys here and there for that, but that's really it. I mean, PFF, we'll just look at what you guys had for I have that on here for the safeties for the Bengals this year, the depth of the safeties the Bengals had compared to what they had last year. I mean, we got Ricardo Allen, I know that's 54, but I mean, hell, you got.
I mean, is a third safety coming in and just kind of those nickel looks, kind of filling in that linebacker role, just kind of offering them a little more in run support. I mean, you're not relying on that guy to be a starter.
Right.
He's a rotational player. He can help on special teams. That's just a guy who knows especially if a guy like Von Bell goes down. Adding that secondary depth is really important because secondary play year to year is already inconsistent. And there's a lot of injuries to these guys that are these fast twitch guys that are constantly getting mixed up with these receivers and running full speed and all this different stuff that they're coming down at weird angles after contesting balls. So it's very common for either defensive backs to have down years after having good ones and go up and down, or to get injured. So having that depth, especially in that secondary position, and corner is the same way where they haven't signed an elite Byron Jones or one of these top guys. They don't have a Jalen Ramsey or a Marlon Humphrey. What they do have is a lot of solid guys, and we're talking if 2 guys are having bad years or get injured, then you still feel the confident that you have the depth and you're not putting a guy like LaShawn Sims out there who is just not ready.
Exactly. That's where my confidence comes in to the season. And people get on the national media gets on the Bengals. Well, they didn't do enough in the offensive line. There was a lot to do. let's be honest. There was a lot to do. And the defense, like I said, and I give Lou a hard time all the time. I call him Armadillo. But he took over a historically bad defense. I mean, there was nothing there pretty much. I mean, you had Geno, an aging Geno, an
Mhm.
aging Carlos Dunlap. And I mean, they just drafted. I think Armadillo drafted Jesse Bates. I think he came in with him, but he was a rookie. So, and they didn't know Jesse Bates was going to turn into what Jesse Bates has turned into. But he didn't have anything there. So, and the offensive line, everybody gets on. They didn't do anything for the offensive line. Well, I beg to differ. They did, because this offensive line is going to be almost completely revamped. I mean, if Trey Hopkins is ready for opening day, him and Jonah Williams are the only two starters left from opening day last year that started.
Exactly.
So they did do a lot. Did they do what everybody thought they should do, or the national media thought they should do? No. I mean, but the thing is, they needed more than one person, and
Exactly.
you can't spend all your money in one place. Go ahead.
I was going to just borrow real quick a phrase from one of my colleagues over at PFF, Austin Gale. He was just talking on his podcast, 2-for-1 Drafts podcast, which everyone should go check out. He said, talking about building an offensive line, complete, not elite.
Yes.
Have a complete offensive line, not an elite offensive lineman. Because you look at guys like Joe Thomas, who was one of the Hall of Fame tackles, one of the best.
Right.
He was there. He was the best, hands down, for almost 10 years. But what really good did it do them without quarterbacks who could throw the ball or wide receivers who could get open? And so you're looking at this kind of stuff and you're saying, we want to be good at all these spots. We don't need to be great or elite. We need to be capable. We need to be at least NFL average. And like you said, you've got Jonah coming back healthy and Trey Hopkins coming back healthy. If they're both good, they were quality. If you talk about the center rankings, I think Trey Hopkins was 17th for PFF, where he's been constantly solid, league average, good. You can't beat that at every spot in your offensive line. If you have that, you're rocking, you're rolling, like you're doing a great job. And you want to talk about what else they did. I mean, obviously they're counting on health at a couple spots with Xavier Su'a-Filo. They've got Quentin Spain figuring out what they're going to do at that guard spot. But also they added Jackson Carman, which even if it's not your guy, the guy you wanted, you can't argue that it's a player who is going to give them better than what they got out of previous iterations at that guard spot. Obviously, you got Riley Reef coming in. Oh, he's not big and splashy. Well, the guy allowed 1 sack last year, period.
He doesn't have to be. He's solid.
You want to talk about, I know we want to talk about the value of sacks versus pressures, but ultimately sacks still do matter, and pressures are just more predictive, but sacks do still matter. And the fact is, it's been just an absolute turnstile on the right side of the line to where people could just walk up to the quarterback the last couple of seasons. So it's nice to have at least someone you can say, I know his baseline level of play may be league average, but damn, am I happy to have league average, you know?
Right. I know, exactly.
If you can get that, and then you get you end up replacing Jim Turner, who plenty of people who are much smarter than me about the O-line have talked about how the technique he was teaching, the favoritism he was showing, it all added and piled on to the extensive injuries that they had, to where I think it was over 4,000 snaps that they had played by guys last season not projected to start this year. That's tremendous. And so you can say they didn't make a lot of additions. They did a lot of changing. They did.
Yeah,
it's going to be different. And different is good in this scenario because it's been so bad previously.
Right. And one of the big ones, and I am not trying to hype this up too much, and you mentioned it, getting rid of Turner and adding Frank Pollock. Frank Pollock, there's been lots of people who said he is right there on the edge of becoming an elite offensive line coach. So and you have Joe Mixon, who is ecstatic that he came back. So I think that's a game changer right there. And one real quick point that I like bringing up, the 1988 offensive line. Yes, they had Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz. Everybody else was not first-round picks. Even Max Montoya was not a first-round pick, who should be in the Hall of Fame too. But still, you don't need first-round picks at every position on the offensive line to protect Joe Burrow. You need them all to stay healthy. You need them all to be on the same page and do their job. And I know PFF isn't as high on Spain as I am. I really think Quentin Spain is going to be the starting guard along with I keep forgetting the guy we just drafted.
Jackson Carman, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think those are going to be our two guards, and that makes Su'a-Filo as your backup, which that's good. I mean that's
right.
A good
Again,
thing,
compared to a point of reference from what you've had, it's a massive improvement, because we're talking about league worst guard play, not just bad. Not to pile on Michael Jordan, obviously he's worked really hard to improve, and he was probably asked to do things that he was not prepared to and was being taught, like we said, bad technique, to where it's not all on him. right?
Exactly.
And we don't want to rag on players. But at the same time, the production is what it is, and that was the past. But looking at the past, it was bad. It was near the bottom of the league. So even if Spain comes in and is average or slightly below average, it still represents a market improvement from what they had.
Yeah, and he's on a 1-year prove-it deal. Guys step up, and I mean, he's going to give you his best effort because he wants a contract next year.
Not to mention, he came in the middle of the season, was asked to play all over, and literally played almost the next day after he got in town.
He played tackle.
Right. That's the thing. You got guys playing not just, someone got hurt and we lost the continuity of our line. Now the guys between us don't have chemistry. Oh, you're playing right tackle one week, then you're playing guard the next week. Then I want you to flip to the other side of the line and play the other guard spot. And it's like you're playing two different positions, and then you're flipping to the other side where everything's backwards. And people are like, oh, the Bengals offensive line is putrid. Well, shoot, man, just staying in one spot and knowing the guy to your left and your right is going to alone give you a huge improvement. And people always talk about that continuity and how important. And I remember going into COVID, the offseason, everyone was talking how important the continuity was going to be for the offensive line going into that year. That's something that people seem to be forgetting about the offensive line with Cincinnati, is just not being that revolving door at every single position, having guys playing multiple positions on either side of the line, just staying in one spot and being able to learn that one spot and master that one spot. I mean, before you're talking about adding a Frank Pollock or adding some of these, you're just better from continuity's sake. So I think that's something that might be getting overlooked, as well as you don't have to protect as much when you can get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds because your receivers are open. If you listen to, I know Daniel Jeremiah has talked a little bit about, he talks to general managers, scouts, just all over the league, kind of getting a feel for what do you see, where are things going? And there's been, talk of with how quick the ball gets out sometimes.
Right.
Maybe batting down passes is better, or getting more power rushers to collapse the pocket and force them to take more time, as opposed to trying to beat it off the edge, because you can't just speed rush quick enough to get all the way around the arc before the ball's coming out. So again, being able to get that ball out is like improving the offensive line, because having that Jamar Chase and that Tyler Boyd and that T. Higgins, and then if you see a step forward from a Drew Sample or a healthy Uzoma, or Auden Tate continues to escalate and be more of a factor, then there's no reason to believe that Joe Burrow is necessarily going to be running for his life back there. I think he's going to be scrambling to create plays because he wants more. I don't think he's going to be running for his life. I think he's going to be hungry to get out there and show everybody he can move.
Exactly. And one thing I always like pointing out too, because people, when Joe Burrow was in there, everybody gets mad at Zach Taylor for throwing the ball 5,000 times. Mm-hmm. Well, my point is they couldn't run the ball. But they're like, well, they ran it at the end of the year. Okay. The end of the year, our two starting guards were Quentin Spain and Seraphilia. Right there, that and Trey Hopkins. They solidified the middle of that line. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, that's why our running game got better. Our line improved by two players. I mean, Seraphilia was supposed to be one of our starting guards last year, and he got hurt, first game of the year. Didn't come back till, I don't know, week 12 or something like that. And then we added Spain. So it just goes to show you have to have talent, but you don't have to have elite talent. You just have to have good talent to fix this.
And when you have a franchise quarterback too, why are you mad at the coach for putting the ball in his hands?
Right, I know.
Dear Lord, ask Seattle Seahawks Twitter what's going on with them when they try and run the ball all the darn time and talk about, they're going to let Russ cook. And then as soon as one game goes poorly and doesn't work out, they go, never mind, we're going to run the ball all the time and take it out of Russell Wilson's hands. It's like, no, this guy's like your league MVP type caliber quarterback. What are you doing? So, and you look at, obviously, Pat Mahomes in Kansas City, that's a very unique scenario, but at the same time, they're trending toward that, using that effective passing game. You look at what did Buffalo do? Before it was, let's protect Josh Allen and his accuracy. And then Brian Dable came out and said, screw that. We're going to throw the ball. I mean, there was one game last year, I think, where they had 20 straight dropbacks. There's 20 straight pass attempts and didn't run the ball. And if it's working and if your quarterback is that talented, put the ball in his hands, because you don't have to hand the ball off to Mixon to get it to him. Put him out in a pattern. Let him run a choice route. Get on those angle routes. Let him get out there and work as a receiver. So there's definitely ways you can keep Mixon involved, but not necessarily limit the touches that Joe Burrow is getting.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Mixon, let's get to the PFF rankings of him. Joe Mixon is returning from the lowest PFF grade in his career, 65.3, an injury-shortened 2020 season. Right. But there are reasons for optimism heading into next year. The offensive line, like we just talked about, should be improved. And Mixon did earn PFF's rushing grade of at least 74.0 in each of his first 3 NFL seasons. The loss of Giovanni Bernard does make this a thinner group heading into next season. The Bengals will rely on Samaje Perine to spell Mixon, who did end last season with back-to-back 80-yard rushing grade or 80.0 rushing yard grades, week 16 and 17. Your thoughts, Evan?
So you do see a little bit of what you kind of referenced, where in the last couple games of the season, they did get a little bit of continuity there at the offensive line, to where they took Michael Jordan out. They put Suafilo and Spain in when they were healthy. That's that shows right there that when the offensive line is able to create that space to give Mixon the chance to run, it's beneficial to him, which obviously we would expect, right? And part of this 20 overall ranking, obviously, like they say, is the loss of Gio Bernard. If he's in there, he's a very established veteran. You know what you're getting is a very, very good pass protector, one of the league's better receiving backs, and a very capable rusher in his own right as well. If he's still there, I think this ranking is probably closer to like maybe 12 or 13. Right. Just understanding that Samaje Perine has not done much in the NFL in terms of accomplishment, and Chris Evans is a 6th-round rookie. While impressive in limited action at Michigan, he doesn't have a tremendous body of work. A lot of projection. That's why they end up around here.
Right.
And part of, obviously, we won't get too much into running back value, but like we said, the offensive line has to be blocking well. Your run game coordinator, your coach, your scheme have to be effective, and you can't be running your head into a wall with stuff that's not working right, or you don't have the personnel to execute. But importantly, the ways that running backs can really add value to what they do is receiving, obviously, but also creating missed tackles, forcing missed tackles. And that's something that Mixon absolutely has the capability to do. Not this past season, but the season before. I remember that after the break, I think it was the week 8 bye, Mixon was like a top 5 rusher in the NFL. They came out and they were handing the ball off to him. He was I remember the Patriots game where he had like over 100 yards and was just absolutely dominating. And he looked good. And when you look at the first 8 weeks and the next 8 weeks, everybody was like, Mixon's doing so much better, the scheme and everything. But if you looked at his missed tackle rate, it was down to like 15 or 20% in the first 8 weeks, but it was up to like 35% in the next 8 weeks. So he is capable of making defenders miss. He's capable of being agile with that slippery little wiggle, destroying tackling angles, kind of getting people to take those glance angles as opposed to those direct square tackles. He's capable of doing that. But I also have heard Mike Sands, Bengal Sands,
yes.
and also
great follow on Twitter too.
Yeah, absolutely. Go follow both of those guys if you aren't already. If you're following me or Jeff and you're not following them, you're messing up real bad. So
you should definitely follow those guys
right now. But they had a great discussion about Joe Mixon, and one thing they kind of brought up was, even when he gets paired up on defensive backs, he sometimes wants to hit the truck stick, and then he breaks the tackle, but then he gets tripped up a little bit, and the guy's able to catch him from behind, or he falls over, or he's able to get that extra 2 or 3 yards, but that's it. And so really the only thing holding him back from being one of those high-end Alvin Kamara guys, those Derrick Henry guys, is his breaking the tackle, because we know he's a receiving back. We want to see that he's better as a pass protector, but it sounds like they want to keep him out on the downs, and they trust him to be out there on all of those downs now, and they want to give him that opportunity. So hopefully we see that this year. I think if you see improved pass blocking, obviously health is a factor. It's tough because players go out there and play injured.
Right.
They play hurt, and they don't play to their full percent, because obviously you're going out there with, turf toe trying to run routes. You're not going to be as effective, and it's going to show when you're grading. Right?
They're going to be hurt.
Exactly.
None of them are going to be 100%. I mean,
unfortunately, there's not an injury checkbox that we can put as like a qualifier, right?
Right.
If you're going to be healthy enough to be on the field and go play, then you are going to be graded just like everybody else, right? So it may be unfair if they're out there hobbled and can't cut, that they're not getting graded on a curve or something. But at the
Right.
same time, if you're out there playing, that's part of it. So that lower grade he had last season, you see it in the last couple of weeks when he was healthier, when the line was better, you saw improved production. And I think with improvement in the pass blocking, with hopefully another year with a full length season of Joe Burrow and a little bit better coordination with Frank Pollock, I think this could be the season that we do see Mixon kind of really mesh with the offense, because sometimes when Geos come in, it felt like things ran smoothly. But I think
Right.
this is probably the season where Joe Mixon feels good. Everyone feels good. It sounds like he's very excited about Frank Pollock coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the season he's really ready to just go out there and prove to himself that he is one of those league's best backs.
Yeah, he's definitely going to prove that he's one of the league's best multi-purpose backs, because that's what they're paying him to be. Let's be honest. Now, Crypt Keeper has a question for you. He has, Evan, how does Chris Collinsworth feel about the Bengals? Because I'm sure your office is right next to Collinsworth. You guys talk every day, right?
If only, man. No. Chris is way too busy for little guys like me. But no, Chris is great, man, and I would definitely recommend. He's got a great podcast over there, the Chris Collinsworth podcast. He's always doing really great interviews. He had Adam Schefter on, and I want to make sure I'm getting this name right real quick. Ari Meirov. There we go. He is PFF's newest hire. He's going to start covering the NFL teams, kind of breaking news. Adding to that is PFF sort of builds that a little bit. So that's something exciting. So I would definitely recommend going and checking that out. But Chris is definitely, you saw the clip of NBC Sports. I know Logie and Bengals Jim were both tweeting that out the other day. It was Chris Collinsworth trying to cape for the Bengals and advocate for them and saying, hey, like, let's give them credit. They've got some good players. And he's got everybody else saying, no, let's talk about something else. And, you know, Chris is still, he lives in Cincinnati. He is Cincinnati, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he brought PFF to Cincinnati. He loves the city. And I think he has a really bullish view on the Bengals, to where he trusts what PFF does. And I think if anybody's going to get behind his model, because he sits with Eric and asks a million questions, Eric Eager, our chief data scientist, who actually just did he's our head of research and development over at PFF too. And he just did a podcast over with Zim and Ace. So check that out as well. Great look at the Bengals, but they talk all the time. So I'm sure Chris has the utmost faith in Eric's model, which is where I get that 10th percentile outcome from. So I would say that Chris is going to be more bullish than the national media on the Bengals, based on him caping for the Bengals last season, knowing that he has this pride in Cincinnati and being a Bengal as well. I think that he definitely is going to be one of the, let's put it this way, when the Bengals surprise people, because people have such low expectations that when they finally do start sparking and clicking, everyone's gonna be like, whoa, where did this come from? And everyone else is going to, in Cincinnati, is going to be like, I told you this was coming. No one here will be surprised. But
I'll be like, I told you.
Exactly. And I guarantee you, Chris will be on NBC, will be on his podcast, and will be saying, pay attention to the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow with what they've got with T. Higgins, with Jamar Chase. You know, he's a receiver. I'm sure he's real excited about that receiving core they got there. That's something he can get behind, man. And there's just a lot of electricity in Cincinnati, I'm sure you know. So,
absolutely.
It's going to be exciting.
Now,
if nothing else.
It's going to be fun. I mean, I can't remember. I might have been the Locked On Bengals podcast. I listen to so many different podcasts. I can't remember where I hear from.
I hear you.
But somebody said, I thought it was a good point, if the Bengals don't win as much as we think they're going to, it's still going to be fun to watch them, because they're going to put 25, 30 points up a game. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, I want them to win.
Outscore them. That's the thing, is there's too many weapons for them to not find their way into being an effective offense, that at the very least, you're not going to be watching these grinded out, 3 and out, frustrating facepalm drives to where, okay, I can't remember how many times it was like we got the ball back and then it was like 3 and out. Just all right, defense, like save us again. Yeah, back in the 2015 days. Yeah,
the Marvin Lewis move. All right, we got the ball to go into halftime. We got the ball coming out of halftime. Let's do something stupid, go 3 and out, give the ball back to the other team. They run down the field and score before half. We get the ball back again. Don't score. They get the ball back and score on us. Like,
right.
It
kills you, and it's demoralizing, and it's backbreaking, and it feels like the swing is so quick on that. So I think
those are game changing. those are game-changing drives. That changes
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
game right there.
Absolutely. And something encouraging in that fact, since we are talking about kind of end of game scenarios there, is that Joe Burrow looked so calm and cool in every single kind of scenario where they were 2-minute drill, whether it was end of half, end of the game, when he had to had the pressure. The defense knew he was trying to pass, and they said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do what we've got to do and get it taken care of anyway. He took care of the ball. Obviously, there was that interception in the Colts game,
Yeah.
but overall, he was dicing people up in those last kind of 2-minute drills. So encouraging to see. Hopefully, the Bengals can find their ways to be more effective and put up more points in those scenarios as opposed to giving the other team the opportunity to do so.
Exactly. Let's get to the rankings you guys have for. I think this is pretty much the Bengals offense or just the quarterback side. But you have Burrow has been sacked 32 times, 2nd in the NFL, and hit 43 times, 4th in the NFL. At the time of his season-ending injury, it was far from an optimal situation, but he still managed to put together an impressive season, particularly in short interim ranges. He and Chase, the 5th overall pick in 2021 NFL draft, are the two most logical pieces to build around on offense. That duo combined for 14.7 yards per attempt and 141.3 passer rating in LSU's 2019 championship season. That right there is one of the reasons I am so excited about this offense. I mean, if they could come anywhere close to this right here, to what they did in their last year at LSU,
oh, it's crazy.
We're going to win some games. I mean, that's going to happen.
Absolutely, and both of their grades when interacting with each other, when they were when Joe Burrow was targeting Chase, both grades are elite for Joe Burrow and for Chase. I mean, it was utterly dominant. Obviously, he had more deep touchdowns in one season and then opted out than guys like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, anybody had in 2. So he was effective as a deep receiver before he even had this kind of improved athletic profile. So really encouraging to see that. That article that was pulled up right there was the players to build around for every team. So if you're kind of thinking about your cornerstone pillars for the Bengals, I think a lot of people would say obviously Jesse Bates, Joe Burrow, and then that third guy could be T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, depending on how confident you feel in your projection for Jamar Chase. But I think that's ultimately kind of the general area that you would point to. And that is a really good core to build around. And what's encouraging is 2 of those are premium positions that cost a lot of money, that give you surplus value for the next 4 seasons, to where you can take that money, because DeAndre Hopkins is up there at $25-27 million a year. You're saving $20 million there by getting what we hope to be an elite receiver in Jamar Chase. That's $20 million you can spend on the offensive line, or paying Trey Hendrickson to get pass rush, or going out and getting another secondary player to bolster that with Jesse Bates. That gives you that flexibility, not to mention what you get with Joe Burrow, not paying him what I was actually talking with Brad Spielberger, who's PFF salary cap analyst, earlier today about this. I posed a hypothetical about if rookies could be extended, if there was no extension rules, what would you give Joe Burrow?
I saw you tweet that out. Yes.
I was thinking to myself, with Baker coming up, with Lamar coming up, I was like, man, Joe Burrow in a couple of years could be in that $45 million range. What if we could extend him now? Well, what would that number look like? It's an early discount. He's coming off injury. What would that number look like? And I asked Brad just for an outside perspective as a cap guy, and he was like, even coming off massive injury like that, I would still feel confident putting him in that $35 million a year range. So when you look at that compared to what he's making, I mean, you're saving $25-30 million below market right there. So you really have $40 to $50 million in cap room afforded to you just by having Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow as a young core. That's part of the tremendous value that PFF is trying to preach, especially through, and not just PFF, a lot of analytics people, a lot of even smart football people recognize how much these guys are getting paid and recognize the value in having these elite high-end positions, these valuable positions, cornerback, wide receiver, pass rusher. When you get a guy who's on that rookie contract, what it affords you and the flexibility to go spend elsewhere to patch your roster up is invaluable. It really is.
And that's why I've said this on the show. A lot of people are like, well, Bengals window, which it might be true, but Bengals window really opens up next year. And I'm like, why not this year? Because like you said, we only got these guys. We got these guys signed for 4 years. And then who knows what's going to happen? You know, when the contracts go up. We got to go for it now. And I legitimately think the Bengals, if it all comes together and, you know, all that stuff, they have the talent to do it. And the good thing I like about all the guys that they have brought in the last couple of years, all of them are from winning college programs. How many of these guys on this team, from Jonah Williams to Jackpot Joey Burrow, which we're in Jackpot Joey Burrow, so go you guys can you want to buy them? Hit me up. I'll let you know where to buy them. Anyway, from Jackpot Joey Burrow to T. Higgins to Jamar Chase, all these guys have won national championships. And the way they do it now with the pro football playoffs and everything, it's as big as an NFL playoff game can be. So they know how to win. They know how to win under pressure. That has got to work, I would think, in the NFL to win games.
Right. You gotta think it translates in some facet, and what you do know is going to translate is that chemistry with Joe Burrow, with Jamar Chase. That's something you can count on. Obviously, you've talked about them drafting winners. I'll add Jackson Carman to that too. A guy who played at Clemson for as long as almost Trevor Lawrence was there playing tackle for him. So it's definitely something they've been going after. Defensive captains, offensive captains, guys from established programs, like you said, winning programs that I think they're definitely trying to build a culture. And obviously there was a lot of question about with Carlos Dunlap, with guys being disgruntled. Obviously you want things to go smoothly, but sometimes things aren't going to go that way. Veterans are starting to either age out or like you get a new regime in here where it just doesn't quite fit the vision. And there's some clashing about that.
Right.
And that's to be expected. It's unfortunate the way it ended, especially after the career that Carlos has had here, especially after we know he's a tremendous man outside of football as well. It's unfortunate to see that, but I think that got really extrapolated and people like to pile on. And it obviously, with the losing, with those reports coming out, there's reason for that, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same way that people are maybe discounting the Bengals a little bit. Look, it's not entirely unwarranted just from the history of the team.
We're 4-12-1
games in the last seasons. That's the thing is when people get upset about, the offensive line is ranked 24th going into the season. It's like other people are saying this is still the worst end of the offensive line at 24th. If they're 24th, that means they have room to go up to like 20 or 18, if they're high-end projection. So, like, again, complete not elite. If you get to that league average, you're in great shape, right? So it's definitely encouraging to see. And I think the culture that they're building, everyone seems to be on the same page. You see everybody show up for non-mandatory camp. So it's encouraging to see that everyone seems to be on the same page. They seem to have kind of obviously gotten rid of Jim Turner, gotten rid of Bobby Hart, kind of done these things where they've excised maybe some of the stuff that was causing some turmoil in their locker room. And I think they have a more singular focus, a more united kind of goal this season. And I think you've seen that so far, and hopefully we continue to see that through training camp as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we got a good comment in here from Crown Apple Kid, and this goes to, I think, the tight end position, and I cannot remember the wide receiver's name that the Bengals went and looked at the other day who's trying to become a tight end, but you got Alton Tate. And he says he's a beast and he won't get a chance. And I know some Bengals fans.
Was it, he used to play for the Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles and the 49ers, and I cannot remember his name right now. Yeah. I know. I got too much. Other
I'm gonna wake up at 3 a.m. and just shout a random name and just remember it all.
Trust me, my viewers will help me out here. But do you think there's a shot that that Tate might get a shot? I mean, there's been some talk about moving him to tight end. You think with the tight end situation the Bengals have, they're already looking at a wide receiver or a tight end who was a wide receiver and wants to convert to tight end. Do you think they might? There it is, Jordan Matthews.
Thank you. I knew it was something with a J.
Yeah, I know. But
thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Exactly.
So I see this. I see the Auden Tate tight end talk. Can we just be really, really happy that Auden Tate is one of the best like rotational receivers that you can have as a fourth option in the NFL?
Right.
Can we just be happy that he is one of the top tier rotational guys that you could have and be extremely thrilled about it? Can we be happy instead of trying to force him into this superstar? Well, maybe he can supplant this guy and move here or do this. Guys, like, let's be happy he's so good at what he does because it is extremely valuable to have him. And like we said,
Right.
when you have those injuries to a Tyler Boyd, if he has to miss a couple games, if
Right.
T. Higgins has to miss a couple games, if Jamar Chase has to miss a couple games, you have that guy like Auden Tate that you can feel so confident in and not even worry about. I don't want to pack 25 or 30 pounds on a guy who's already slow and has trouble separating.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I'm not excited about it. He already runs his 40's already in tight end territory, and he's like I think 225.
Mm-hmm.
If we pack 25 pounds on him just to try and get him up to 250 to play tight end, which he's never played before,
right,
and has no practice at, like it's different. So like I want to be right now, put my foot down, like let Auden Tate be the great Auden Tate. Like let him just be that awesome guy that comes in and is just his name pops up right when you need him. When oh man, and we're right here on third down, it's 3rd and 8, and then suddenly he goes out there and makes this incredible uncontested catch, and you're like, I'm so happy we have Auden Tate. Let's not force anything on him. Let's not expect him to come out and get 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. Let's just be really, really thankful that the Bengals are that deep at wide receiver.
Right.
And there's a lot of teams that would love to have him as a third receiver or maybe as an outside guy to complement their good slot guy and their other good outside guy. But I don't want to keep trying to make him more than he is. I want to be very, very appreciative of the good player that he is already.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes to my point as we started this, is that I want depth. And that's what
depth
you said. We're only up.
Yeah, give me every position. Yeah. All of it. I want it all.
Right. We're one hamstring pull away from one of these guys not playing or missing, a play, and he jumps in. But I have a super chat here from Rowdy Every Lap. I think I'm gonna say Rowdy Every Lap. Want to thank you for the super chat, and I appreciate it. And just like that, you guys can support what I'm doing. But it says since T. Higgins has no catches. Since T. Higgins has no catches in the first or last game, he will have 3 or more games on top of the constant maturation of his game. Okay. Am I reading that right? Because I'm having a hard time understanding what his question is.
So I think what he's just trying to say is that, and rightly so, that T. Higgins was not really involved those first week or two because obviously they were still expecting A.J. Green to be the number 1 guy. They had Tyler Boyd. They did a good job of trying to work those tight ends early, and they just weren't trying to put all that on T. Higgins. I'm sure it's week 1 as a rookie. Yeah. They wanted to let A.J. Green be the guy.
AJ Green, that's what they expected him to do last year, and it never happened.
Exactly.
It never happened.
Sometimes and so I agree with what Rowdy's saying, that because not only was he not asked to do that, but he was a rookie who, once he was asked to, starting to in week 2 and week 3, he picked up more and more responsibility every week until even I remember listening to like national fantasy guys like on Fantasy Pros start to be like, look, guys, T. Higgins has quietly become like the number 1 guy by like week 5 and 6, that he's getting the most targets. He is that guy. And so it was encouraging to see that he wasn't going to be asked to do that, but was suddenly asked to do that very quickly and adjusted very well to finish the season well. And also, another point, he was playing with Ryan Finley instead of Joe Burrow, which being able to throw the ball accurately, Joe Burrow is not
slight difference.
Joe Burrow is not just good in the intermediate range. He is elite. He was one of the highest graded intermediate passers we've seen since we started grading in 2006. So it really can't be stressed enough how his accuracy, especially in that intermediate area, gives his receivers opportunity to make plays, like when he rolled out to the right threw that bomb down the sideline that everyone thought was going out of bounds, and suddenly
Yeah.
T. Higgins is able to
Yep.
grab it, reel it in, and everyone's losing their minds. It's those kind of plays that his accuracy can give you. So I expect with, like he said, T. Higgins maturation, another year with him, a year with Burrow coming in, and also hopefully having a full season of Burrow. It's the sky's the limit for him.
Well, T. Higgins also out there working out with Jalen Ramsey too. So I mean, you're going to work out and go against one of the elite cornerbacks in this league. That's pretty damn good.
Right. When you play against the elite guy, then suddenly you go up against a couple average guys, and you're like, well, hey, I've gotten open against Jalen Ramsey before. Like,
right.
I'm not worried about this guy over here, which, is maybe a little unfair to those guys, but that's the mentality you have as a competitor, right? Like, when you play one of those elite guys, you start talking to yourself and going, man, like, he's all right. He's good. Like, don't get me wrong, but that guy was something else. Like, I can handle this.
That guy is good. That guy, I can beat that guy. If I can beat that guy, I can definitely beat you.
Yeah, no, I have the same kind of mentality. My friend is a very, very talented basketball player, and I play him. And, it's like I always was guarding him because we lived in the same neighborhood. And it was like I'd have to go guard somebody, but I'd be like, hey, at least it's not Mark. Like, he's so quick that you're fine. You're nothing to me. It's like you're running quicksand. I'll just stand here in front of you. That's all right. So, no, I think T. Higgins, man, he's doing everything right. He looked good as a rookie. That I don't anticipate you're going to see a sophomore slump. I think you see him continue to grow. And PFF actually has him and Jamar Chase both projected to go over 1,000 yards this season. So they're expecting a lot from this offense. But I think it's rightly expected. I think it's fair expectations to have. With what they've invested there.
Absolutely. Rowdy Everlap, give me a $10 super chat. Again, appreciate it. Thank you. T. Higgins averaged 15.2 yards per catch with Burrow.
It's that intermediate range, man. It's that sweet spot right past the sticks. I mean, I don't want to bag on Ryan Finley. But we know
just look at the game that he won against the Squealers. Yeah. When he made one deep pass, the rest of it he was running. So I mean,
and that's the thing. He's a Bengals legend for beating the Steelers in that game, right? We don't want to rag on him, but at the same time, when he threw a ball more than like 5 or 10 yards, it looked like he was throwing a paper airplane. All right, so it had no velocity, no zip. It floated. It didn't give his receivers an opportunity to really make the most of each pass. So I think that's going to be really important because we see in our ball charting that we do in our QB annual how much the location of the ball influences what the receiver can do after the catch. It's really important that if you have it leading away from the defender, that they are able to pick up more. And obviously that makes sense just intuitively, logically, that if you catch it in rhythm, you're going to be able to continue as opposed to if you have to adjust or do your body control or work backwards. So really, Joe Burrow is the engine that's going to make this all work, obviously. But that's not to say that he's not going to have some very talented options to throw to.
Right. And I mean, honestly, I think the key to this season is Joe Mixon. I really do. He's got to be very productive running the ball and coming out of the backfield. And Steve Jeanette here says, if Joe Mixon is healthy and productive, I cannot imagine Tate getting many opportunities as the 4 wide receiver, unless perhaps they try to make a package for him that supports wide receiver / tight end hybrid role, which you never know. But I mean, I could see them using him. I can't see. I think there's gonna be enough footballs for to go around for everybody. Because Joe Burrow, he has a connection with Chase. He started developing a connection with Higgins. He had a connection really quickly with CJ Uzomah. I don't think he cares who he throws the ball to.
No, if you're open, he's going to find you.
He's throwing it to you. So I can see them trying to put Tate in there just to change it up a little because there's so many options that this offensive team has. And to me, like I said, I think Joe Mixon is the key to the offense. The key to the whole season is the defense. And Lou finally, I think, has people in place and talent-wise that can at least are capable of doing what he wants to do in this morphing hybrid defense that he wants to run, where basically it's the New England Patriots defense is what he wants to do, where whatever that team does well, he wants to take it away from. That's why he wants guys that can rush the passer, but they can also drop back in coverage so you don't know what they're doing. I think he's finally has guys talented enough to do that. Now, if it happens, I don't know, but I think that is the key to this season. I don't think I'm saying anything, that no other Bengal fan.
No, I think you touched on two really good points there. The first thing that jumps out to me is, like you said, they can rotate Tate in. Obviously, they ran a lot of 4 and 5 wide receiver sets. They went 4 and 5 wide. Now, necessarily, you can obviously put Mixon out wide. You can put Uzoma out wide. You can do things or put them in the slot to where maybe you have one less receiver on the field. But they can either go wide and go more empty to give Burrow more opportunity, to make the reads easier, to try and give him more targets to hit in the field, to let him really just analyze what's out there and just attack. But even if they don't, even if they stay in that kind of 11 personnel mold where they have 3 wide receivers, tight end, running back, then you're looking at that, and I think they can rotate Tate in and say, hey, let's keep these guys fresh. That's the advantage you have against a lot of these cornerbacks is you can rotate constantly where they don't want to rotate their top guys out at cornerback, but you can rotate your wide receivers to keep them fresh where it's like, well, shoot, you just had to play against Auden Tate and get off, and you're pressing him for 2 or 3 plays, fighting him.
Right.
Here comes Jamar Chase with fresh legs, and he's about to try and take you on a post, and get vertical. Go ahead.
That's what I like about the defense. I think when we went to 5 straight playoffs, we had rotations.
Again, guys, D-line. He's got so much more depth, and you've added depth with Larry Ogunjobi, with attacking, obviously, edge with Joseph Osai in the draft. The name is escaping me of the other gentleman that they took as well. Other edge from a small school.
That we just drafted.
Oh, yes, I believe in the 4th round with one of those picks. I can't remember for the life of me right now.
Was it Drew Sample out of Tulane?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. All right. And he had a really good, obviously smaller school, weaker competition, but had a very good grading profile.
Yes.
It was very encouraging. So these are guys that you can rotate in with what they already have with Larry Ogunjobi, with a healthy DJ Reader, to where, again, we go back to you're not rotating your tackles. No. If you get a fresh Trey Hendrickson coming right at you and then Sam Hubbard rotates in, or you're dealing with Sam Hubbard against the run and his high motor the entire time, and here comes Trey Hendrickson off a speed rush, or with a quick counter, then what you're going to be dog tired, but these guys are going to be fresh. And like you said, that rotation is going to help them be more effective. It's going to help them stay healthier. It's going to help them in general just be a better unit and hopefully generate more pressure, more sacks up front.
Sorry. I got something caught my throat. I want to cough on the mic. But that brings me to my point that I kind of banged on ESPN a little bit about, and I guess Pro Football Focus a little bit too, is the ranking of the Bengals team in general. Now, I know we're, 4, 12, and 1 or whatever, in Zach Taylor era. But they have, at least ESPN did. I haven't checked out PFF's rankings, where they had this team. But ESPN had the Jets and the Jaguars both ranked higher than us. And I'm just looking at pure talent-wise. The Jacksonville Jaguars just drafted number 1 overall. Who else did they get? I mean, we drafted number 1 overall last year, but we have a quarterback coming to his second year. We just talk about all the multiple players that we've added through free agency and the draft. That's where I have the problem. And I'm not saying we should be in the top 10, top 15. None of it. I just don't understand why they have these teams ahead of us, and I'm trying to look at it on paper, and that's what all this is on paper. Talent-wise, how do they see this?
So there is a little bit of disrespect there, I think, obviously, and people discounting the Bengals to a degree, right? That's just something that I'm sure Bengals fans and everyone else has felt, has understood. Is it fair? Not at all. It shouldn't factor in, but unfortunately, people have that attrition, right? They stop voting for LeBron for MVP because they're sick of it, right? It's like, even if they are, it's like, let's get somebody else in there, right? So you've got the new factor, right? New coach in New York, where we feel good about it. They've got a new quarterback who's a high pick. They've got Denzel Mims. They've got Elijah Moore, who a lot of people are really excited about as an explosive weapon. They've got some options there. They've obviously got an offensive line that's building out and getting better. They do have guys like Marcus May that are good young defensive talents. But I agree that you're definitely splitting hairs. You're looking at something that is very close to even between the Jaguars, the Jets, and the Bengals, and people are choosing what's new because they have this idea of this positive projection forward, right? When you think about, oh, Urban Meyer's coming in and he's got Trevor Lawrence, how can this not work out well, right? Or
Well,
you got this new exactly. Well, yeah, no, we're obviously we can see that, but people are fascinated by it. People are going, oh, Urban Meyer's going to have this great offense and all this stuff, and they're just just discounting all the red flags that have already popped up, right? But it's, again, the newness factor, and to their credit, Jacksonville does have an interesting young core. Obviously, DJ Chark is very good. D.D. Westbrook is still a quality receiver that probably doesn't get enough credit. Laviska Shenault, I remember watching him when I was doing like charting games for PFF back and watching Colorado games for no good reason and watching him and just being like, oh my gosh, this guy's great. I love Laviska. So I'm a big fan. So then they, of course, the newness factor again. You got Trevor Lawrence, and he's with his teammate. Oh, how is this not going to go well? Like again, it's narrative based, right? It's not fact based, and you can look at it and go, well, who are the elite players on the Bengals? It's Joe Burrow and Jesse Bates, right? Those are the guaranteed elite players we know we have, and we have, in fairness, two good seasons, above average seasons from Jesse Bates, and one very elite top of the league season. You've got Joe Burrow, who looked amazing for about 7 or 8 weeks, but then that was only 7 or 8 weeks. We've even seen Blake Bortles look like one of the better quarterbacks in the league for 4 weeks, right? So it's just, I think people are discounting it because of the Bengals. I think a little bit when you go, who are the key pieces? Well, Joe Burrow and Jesse Bates. Okay, well, that's new. That's newer. Right. Let's see if that's established before we just guarantee that the Bengals have it figured out now. And obviously with Zach Taylor, I think if you just look at the rosters, I think people would put the Bengals ahead of both of those teams maybe. But when you add the head coaches in, then all of a sudden people go, well, I'd rather have Urban Meyer. Like I don't want Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor really doesn't even deserve to coach in the league according to Lombardi. So
I mean, do you really think? I mean, I'm an Ohio State. I mean, I'm a Bearcat fan first and foremost, but I do root for Ohio State. But I just don't see Urban Meyer's offense transitioning to the NFL because I mean it's a spread offense, but not really. I mean he doesn't. They don't throw the ball that deep. It's not. He's never had a great quarterback out of college. I mean, I can't think. I mean, you had Alex Smith, but he wasn't great.
Huh? Right. Okay, I think people probably get obsessed with the numbers a little bit. Obviously in college we know Ohio State obviously is a super, super talented program. With very good coaches. I don't want to take anything.
No, I'm not taking anything away from this. Nothing against Ohio State or anything.
At the same time, when compared to the rest of the Big Ten, they just out-athlete everybody all the time.
Right.
So it's very easy for those kind of short passes, those drags, the mesh concepts, everything to kind of work. And there was some deeper concepts here and there, and obviously they've transitioned to that where they've got these talented receivers like Chris Olave who are extremely good. Right. But I agree to where maybe it doesn't have the same success that it did at Ohio State, where you have these guys who are supremely athletic, superior athletes to the guys trying to cover them, where these linebackers can keep up with these guys. These safeties, these corners can match up with these guys. So I think you may see some growing pains, and I think maybe not the offense, because we hear it all the time. The job of the coach is more head coach in the NFL is more CEO, than hands-on. I'm going to coordinate the offense. You guys figure everything else out. No, you're dealing with all the minute BS that Urban Meyer does not want to deal with. And that was kind of like the eye-raising question where if you're just looking at some of the off-the-field stuff, we know there was the questionable hire of, I think it was the strength coach.
Yes, the strength coach, yes.
Right? The questionable hire to do that without considering the optics. He's already got reports coming out from, I think, this last week that he's already frustrated. Training camp hasn't even started, and he's already frustrated with how things are limiting him. And it's like, you don't have the control that you did in college, and that you have independent adult men that you're trying to coach now as opposed to young. It's going to be a challenge, and I don't think that Urban Meyer can't rise to that challenge.
No,
it might take a little bit of time. It might take some adjustments.
I'm more just talking about because it's such a quarterback-driven league, and I know Justin Fields just came out, but I mean, Urban wasn't the head coach when Justin Fields was the quarterback.
Mhm.
Just the quarterback that Urban Meyer has had have been great college quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong.
They've been
None
athletes
of
who play quarterback, not quarterbacks who are athletes.
right. None of them have really transitioned to great quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, Alex Smith had he developed. It took him a long time to develop
Jackson
into
Miller,
a
JT
quarterback.
Barrett. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, it's.
I mean, that's where I'm like, now he's got Trevor Lawrence, and we'll see what happens. This could be the most quarterback he's ever had. If that's bad English, but you understand what I'm saying.
What you're saying. Yes, the most prototypical kind of
there you
NFL
go. Thank you.
quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah, you're looking for the guy with the size, the strength, the arm to hit every single throw, and maybe that encourages Urban Meyer to open it up more than when he had guys like Alex Smith and JT Barrett. Because I remember watching some of these games and seeing them, and it would everything would spread out down the field, and all of a sudden, there's a running back on the sideline waving his hands in the air, and he's not even getting looked at. And I was like, that's how you know you're not dealing with the highest level quarterback necessarily. And obviously, these are college kids who are just coming in and just still trying to figure out everything. Exactly. And you still see quarterbacks will come into the NFL and they'll say, what was the hardest thing for you? Or what do you feel best about going into year 2? And they say, well, now I know how to read a defense. It's like a lot of these guys in college don't necessarily know. They get half field reads. They know where the ball's supposed to go based on what they're seeing, middle of the field, open, closed, all this, right? So they're just looking for these key reads as opposed to understanding the entirety of the defense and how everything functions. So you don't want to ask too much of a 19-year-old kid who's playing at Ohio State in the biggest stage, but you're right in the sense that he's got the most quarterback, as you said, that he's had. So we'll see if maybe he opens things up a little bit, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say from the CEO perspective, and even maybe on his offense too, there might be some growing pains a little bit for Urban Meyer.
Right, exactly. And I gotta get to the super chat here. Rowdy, every lap, you are killing it.
Rowdy.
I keep pointing at that camera. That camera's not working. Rowdy, you're killing it. I appreciate you. Support me what I'm doing here. T. Higgins will be elite in 2021. I have seen every game he's played since 2017, and he keeps getting better. I agree with him.
He reshaped his body. He looked like a better athlete last year than he did in college. I mean, if he continues to improve on that trajectory until he gets to a fully developed 24 or 25-year-old, then they may have 2 elite receivers on rookie contracts.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say we have 2X wide receivers. I mean, I think that could be the cool thing about this offense. Those 2 can be interchangeable. Mm-hmm. So you can't. Most offenses will have that one elite wide receiver. The Bengals, I think, are going to have 2.
Yeah.
So which one are you going to stop?
And a really, really, really good one in Tyler Boyd.
Right.
Exactly. not paying any, but yes, to have that elite top tier potential.
Yes.
Right.
And I've said this before on my show. I really do think these guys have a chance to be even better than I think the 3 best the Bengals have had together in Chad Johnson, TJ Houshmandzadeh, Diesel, and Slim, Chris Henry. I think they have a potential to be better than those guys. I really do.
Is that a thing? Can we get a TJ Houshmandzadeh, CJ Uzomah hybrid? Just out on the field with Joe Burrow? I feel like that's a secret weapon we should be investing in.
That's called not being able to get my tongue to work.
That's all right. They both have the alphabet soup last names that kind of blend together a little bit. I understand.
Exactly.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Sometimes it is, man. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. All right. It's dude, it's already after 6:30, man. We're just rolling along here. You got time
to talking Bengals, right?
Oh, exactly. You got time to hang out some more?
Man, I'm good.
All right, cool. Joe Burrow, Steve here says Joe Burrow is getting better every game before he got hurt too. That's yes. And Zach Taylor has said this that the offense, and I've said the offense was starting to click. That Washington game, they were winning that game if he doesn't get hurt. There's no doubt in my mind. And I've also said it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Not that I'm glad Joe got hurt, which I'm not, but I really do think if he had not gotten hurt, the Bengals could have ended the season damn close to 500. If they do that, we have no shot at all at Chase. So that's where, and I also put it this way too. If the Bengals didn't let Whitworth and let Zeitler and all these guys go, we went through all these years of bad play,
Mhm.
we wouldn't have got Joe Burrow.
Right.
So,
Well, you see that a lot too. Like with the Jets, they missed out on Kirk Cousins. Obviously, they took some swings with Sam Darnold, but now they have a rookie quarterback, and they feel good about, and they've got some young, talented players like an Elijah Molden. They've got the running back out of North Carolina too that they feel good about. So there's definitely encouraging signs with the Bengals and with Joe Burrow's progress. And I think especially with how he grew and responded to challenges. You saw his toughest game of the season was probably that Ravens game where
oh yeah,
those blitzes were just coming from everywhere and they couldn't get anything going. But I'll tell you what, man, knowing Joe Burrow and knowing how hard he works, I bet he spent so much of his rehab watching every
oh
Ravens
yeah,
game,
oh yeah,
checking out everything they're doing because
yeah.
as smart as he already was, as much as he already knew and was able to handle mentally as a rookie in such a short amount of time, he's only gotten smarter.
Well,
He's only built on his IQ, and that's really, really exciting.
I'll put it to you this way: I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy who's always played with a chip on his shoulder. You might have heard him. His name's Tom Brady. And I'm not comparing Joe Burrow to Tom Brady.
It's ringing a bell. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But that chip, I think, on Joe's shoulder is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because he proved Ohio State wrong that he should have been their starting quarterback. He proved, everybody kept telling him, you don't want to go to the Bengals. You don't want to go to the Bengals. It's going to be terrible. Yada, yada, yada. Well, he went to him and he proved that, when he was healthy, we're on the verge of becoming a better team. Now it's like, oh, Joe Burrow, he's not going to be back till November. Oh yeah. he was.
That's the thing. People are like, "Oh, I don't know about Joe Burrow. Is he going to even come back healthy?" I'm like, guys, if you were paying any attention, you would have seen that he was already out there without a knee brace on, and he doesn't even have a brace on anymore. It's not even like, oh, he's out here just like on the sideline encouraging people. Like this man's out here rolling out. Like
that. Yeah, the last day of OTAs, he's rolling out of the infield, going to I think the left side or right side.
And I think he does have a little bit of that Tom Brady where, someone to maybe bring up a slight or something that somebody said, and he'll just laugh it off and be like, no, I don't even think about that. But then he looks up and he's got that little evil glint in his eye. Like, it's on my mirror. I look at it every morning and I internalize it and I go, I hate you and I'm coming. Like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's what the great ones do. I mean, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, if you watch The Last Dance,
right.
They
internalize that. Every slight that they can possibly perceive, is just.
He would make stuff up.
Right. That guy didn't tell me have a nice day. All right. That's when I knew it was personal. It's
right. You're going down. I'm taking you out.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to have. And I guarantee you this offseason has been such a mental. I don't even want to say a grind, but I think Burrow likes it. I really do. I mean, not the rehab or anything, but the book work, the video, listening to all the naysayers and all this stuff. And I think that this team is taking his personality on, kind of like the Reds when the Castellanos is playing, they take on his personality. I think this team with the Bengals are taking on Joe's personality. They know they got to put the work in. They know they have a chance to be pretty good this year. That's why all of them showed up at OTAs. And this is one thing I can't find out if this is true or not, but I think the Bengals are the only team in the NFL that had every single person at OTAs.
I'm not sure about that, but
that's what everybody says. But I don't know
with everything going on. I would assume that they are definitely one of maybe 2 or 3 teams. Like I would say it would be a small percentage, small handful that had everyone come with no questions about contract extensions. No one's holding out with that. No one's doing their own thing and saying, oh, well, I don't want to come in or, I didn't get vaccinated or I don't feel comfortable doing this. It's everyone, like you said, is on the same page. We're here to work.
Well, and that's the thing too. People got on Zach for cutting it short when the not OTAs, but when the minicamp started. But I think that was mostly to get to the 25% that they need of vaccinated players. So when they come back here this week or this next week, they're ready to go. They don't have to do no Zoom calls, no nothing. They're ready to go. Got another one. Rowdy, you're killing it. Love you. Let's see. $10 super chat from him. Said, if they open up the offense, Burrow could throw for 5,000 yards because the defense being better will get the offense back the ball on the field sooner. More plays. And that's gonna be the key to it. Is we don't want Joe sitting on the sideline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think obviously being behind in some of those early season games was a big factor, but Joe Burrow was, I believe, at the top of the league in dropbacks when he went down with injury. He
Right.
was dropping back more than anybody. He was throwing the ball more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at those counting stats, obviously you're going to get more rushing yards if you have a lot of rushing attempts, right? Or you're going to have a lot of passing yards if you have a lot of passing attempts. So I don't mean to necessarily discount his accomplishments through those first 7 or 8 games, the counting stats that were largely impressive, because especially even when you're forced to pass the ball, they know you want to pass the ball.
Right.
So maybe it's even harder for him to achieve those. But I think absolutely he's correct that you could see Joe Burrow continue not to drop back at the rate that he did, but perhaps just a little bit less, to where I don't think it's unreasonable that if they keep the same kind of let's put the ball in Joe's hands, which they should,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason he couldn't be top 3, top 5 in attempts among quarterbacks this year.
Well, I mean, if you look back, and I was kind of watching an old Bengals game. I watched old Bengals Browns game from '86, another one in '88.
Mm-hmm.
You should go back and watch those. See how many times Boomer dropped back. And with those years, we had those 2 years, '88 and '86. We had the number 1 ranked offense in the NFL. Now we did have James Brooks and Ickey Woods in '88 and James Brooks and Larry Kinnebrew was on that team, and Stanley Wilson, but Stanford Jennings. They did run the ball, but they threw the ball a ton too. So
that and having that aerial attack just opens things up for that run game.
Exactly.
It's defenders out of the box.
And that's where I think they're probably going to pass, like I said, to open up the run. And that's it's not a bad thing to throw the ball. No. This is a throwing league.
Right.
I mean, everybody kept saying we're going to get Joe Burrow killed, which unfortunately they did. But I think the offensive line's better. I don't think that's going to happen this year. And I really do think Mixon is going to have I think it's a prove it year for him. I really do feel that he's going to prove that he is an every down back.
That, and he's already had his share of injuries in his first couple years in the league. There's no reason to force him to be. He can be that 300 touch guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to just run him into the ground and say, no, we should run the ball, take it out of Joe Burrow's hands, and give Mixon 25, 30 touches in the run game and run him into the ground and let him average 3 yards a carry, because that's the way the AFC North is played. Like, no, make them adjust to you the way that the Chiefs did. The rest of the league is now trying to play catch up to them. Throw the ball to where they have to do something uncomfortable. They want to run. You see what happens when the Ravens get behind. They're uncomfortable throwing the ball. Yes. That's the way to beat them, is to get out early.
Exactly. And that's the key. And that's where I hope Lou can do this on his defense. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing with the Browns. I want Jamar Jackson. I want him to beat us, not running the ball, throwing it. I want Baker Mayfield to beat us throwing the ball. I'll take that all day long because we can stop the run. That's the key to stopping the Ravens I cussed on my own show. The Ratbirds and the Clowns. If you can stop them, stop the run, then they have a very, very good chance of beating them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's really encouraging. It's just, you got such a talented quarterback, and you don't need to give Mixon 25, 30 carries, or you can find other ways. If he's got 15 or 18 rushes along with 3 or 4 catches, but all of those runs are going for 5 yards a carry instead of 2 or -1 or 1.5. It's good to be more effective with less touches than to just keep pounding yourself into a wall and saying, eventually this wall is going to break, because sometimes you just need to go around the wall. Like, sometimes just go through the door. Like, no, but if I beat my head against this wall long enough, there will be a hole there. And it's like, we're just go around. Like, there's other ways. So instead of just being like, I'm going to be tougher than you and I'm going to run through the wall, just go around it. Just be different. Just be different.
Point in case, and I'll show my age, the 1980, 81 or 82 Super Bowl, the goal line stand that the Sucky Niners had against us. If we had a play action and could have flipped the ball to the end zone or something, we could have got a touchdown there, but nope. We had to run it 3 straight times and they stopped us. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like sometimes you don't have to bang your head against the wall. Sometimes you can fix the run.
The running game feels safe, and dropping back to pass, you're holding your breath. It feels uncomfortable. It feels scary. So when you're at that goal line, you say, hey, we can hand this off 3 or 4 times. Eventually, we're going to get in, right? And it's like,
Right.
or you can challenge yourself and say, hey, they're scared of us. We've got all these weapons. Let's
Right.
spread them out. Let's create space to where they're looking at, oh my God, look at all this space. Look at all these gaps. Like,
Right.
are they about to run? But we're so wide outside of the box right now. Like, what's
Right.
going on here? And
Right.
plus, when you run the ball, it takes one bad blown block to blow
Mhm.
up the play.
Yep.
Whereas if you're passing and someone's open in 2 seconds or less, that pass rush can't even get to you. So if you've got that little spot drop zone, you get a little like Z spot kind of tight end curl in there or a little option route, then you can get that ball out quickly enough. If you've got smart players and guys who have chemistry, trust those guys to be grade. It's no
Exactly.
reason that you can't have Mixon back there
Yep.
showing off his pass protecting skills
Mhm.
or getting out and trying to get wide and just flip him the ball and let him run wide. That's as good as a run play.
Now
The
now
short
he's
passing game is a run play
yeah,
almost.
now that's what he has to prove he can do. And
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons Gio is in there a lot on passing downs was because you got to open the lid first.
Yeah, that helps. I was a little excited for that drink there. Yeah, I've been talking a lot, so I tend to
but
ramble. I got to get a little water too.
but that's the reason Gio is in there a lot because Mixon has not been known for pass blocking. So that's one thing he has got to step up. He's got to prove he can do this year. Rowdy, you're killing it. Love it. DJ
Yeah.
Reader is also elite.
Oh yeah.
I agree with you. Our D was so much better up front with him in there. Yeah, and that's another key component to this defense is DJ Reader. You got him and Obajo. And the thing is I like about that is you have the hopefully we'll have the rotation that I was excited about last year with Gino and DJ and Mike Daniels. Now it's Ogunjobi and DJ and Mike Daniels. And actually, do you think that since Gino is still out there, what's your thoughts? I still am holding out hope that Gino might come back to the Bengals this year. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Now, that's definitely an interesting question. I don't think that would necessarily be a bad move. I think having that inside perspective of knowing exactly what was going on with him and his health and what he looked like outside of that or prior to that injury, if he still had the juice, because we saw how quickly AJ Green fell off a cliff.
Right.
And that's not to say that Gino was doing the same thing. Obviously, he was out there playing hurt. But again, we don't have the perspective to know how hurt, what was it 50% injury, 50% age, especially you've got a guy there who his quick burst is really important. And that's just something you do start to lose.
That's the thing too, where I think it's good to take a chance on that because I don't think he's going to cost us a lot of money because of the depth that we do have. And if Gino, it's a 1-year prove deal, which I mean, God love Gino. He had every reason in the world to not play last year.
Absolutely.
COVID, his daughter was being born. He hurt his shoulder, all this stuff, and he still played. That is a guy I want on my team. That's just because he kind of screwed himself this year, as far as his contract goes. He could have sat out and just said, hey, I'm not going to play because of COVID, yada, yada. Somebody would have gave him probably a multi-year contract, maybe not a huge one, but multi-year contract based on what he did, in the past. But that's where I'm like, I don't think it's a bad move to try to get him back into the fold.
Not at all. No, I think that would be a good move, and I think anybody would probably be wise to take that shot at Gino. I mean, that's going back to that draft. It was a really interesting interior defensive line draft. That was Gerald McCoy and Ndamukong Suh's draft, I believe, too.
Yeah,
and Gino was the late round guy, but he may have ended up having the more sustainable excellence stretch.
He changed the position, dude. He completely changed that position.
If you're not looking at Aaron Donald overshadowing his time there, he might have been the best defensive tackle for 5 years in the early 2010s.
If there wasn't a Geno Atkins, there wouldn't be an Aaron Donald. I don't think.
I think Aaron Donald's really, really good.
I'm just saying as far as
I understand what you're saying. That was the Geno Atkins mold. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, it was just one step farther. Yeah, it's like Super Saiyan 3 after 2. I've been watching some Dragon Ball Z lately, so yeah. But no,
there you go.
And but yeah, no, I to go back to what Rowdy was saying. Love DJ Reader, love him. I think he'd be great. I think adding Geno would be exceptional. Obviously, having that depth, like we said, rotating those guys, having a guy who's familiar. If he wanted to stay in Cincinnati, still felt like he had a good relationship with the team, I think that would be a good move for both sides, unless he feels that he can get more guaranteed money elsewhere, which he may
Right.
be able to get. A team out there has a defensive tackle go down in training camp. Maybe I don't know, God forbid, like Chris Jones goes down or something, and
Right.
Geno
Right.
Atkins may not be the premier guy, but he may be a guy that they could get if they
Yeah.
feel he's healthy, and suddenly they feel desperate and they say, hey, we'll give you a 1 year, $8 million deal, fully guaranteed.
Right.
That's going to be better than maybe, he gets a 2 year, $4
True.
million from the Bengals, which
True.
we probably know is only going to be half guaranteed, right?
Right.
So
That's true.
I hope he makes a good move for him. Would love
Yeah.
to see him back in stripes. Obviously, you don't want to see him or AJ or Carlos, anybody go, but sometimes it is best for the organization and for the player to kind of part ways. And I hope he's doing whatever is best for his family and for his financial security.
Exactly. All right. It's almost 7:00. This guy got a couple of comments here. I'll let you get out of here. Man, dude,
That's all right, man.
I can sit here and talk to you for hours about the Bengals.
Oh, yeah. We can keep rambling about the Bengals all day.
Nobody might be watching. We're just talking to each other.
Right.
All right, Steve. Nobody wants to curb their optimism and discuss how the linebackers and have what is that, armored?
So it looks like he's saying that nobody wants to curb the optimism and discuss how with the linebacking core and the state that it is, and also having Anarumo as the DC, maybe they could end up being a
sucky defense.
That really the DBs you feel good about, but there's such a hole at the linebacker spot that you don't feel good about, right? And
I think the linebacking spot, I think we're good. I'm concerned about the depth. I think Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither are going to be good this year. I think they're going to take a step up. Go ahead.
So I feel like they've got better talent there than they have, especially athleticism. That's the one thing is even if they're not extremely talented or not productive this year, they're still significantly more athletic than the Josh Bynes kind of guys that they've been trotting out these last couple of years.
Right.
Obviously, you're looking at guys like Jermaine Pratt, hoping they take a step forward again.
Hey, real quick, what's your thoughts on Jermaine Pratt? Because he does kind of, I'm not over enthusiastic about him, but I'm not saying he's awful. But what's your thoughts on Pratt?
He has his flashes where he'll have good games where it's like, hang on a second, Jermaine Pratt was graded in the 80s in that game, but they're too few and far between.
Right.
Which if we're putting the hierarchy of the defense right in terms of value in the positions, if we're talking about safety, edge rusher, pass rush, like linebacker is probably near the bottom. If we start thinking about, okay, safety and corner are giving up long touchdowns and are very valuable for shutting down the receivers. Linebackers are important for stopping the run, which is a little bit less valuable, and kind of that intermediate area, which obviously you don't want to give up passes in the immediate area and just get diced over the middle all the time, but you don't want to get torched deep. If you're going to give up short pass after short pass, okay, you'd rather have a hole at linebacker than a hole at secondary is basically what I'm trying to say, right? Or a hole at pass rusher. So if they do have the improved D-line depth to where they have the pass rush, they get the average play from their secondary across the board because we talked earlier about the depth they have to where if guys are having down years or get injured, they will have other guys to rely on. Mm-hmm. When they find that rotation and get that right, I think that's going to help the linebackers. But plus, linebacker is just a really freaking hard position to play in the NFL for what you're asked to do because it's okay. Run up and tackle Derrick Henry in this gap right here. Okay, now that you did that, I want you to sprint out and cover Alvin Kamara in the flat. And now that you did that, I want you to cover George Kittle on this seam route or this little crosser going over here. Like
on top of that, Logan Wilson, he's going to be in charge of calling the defensive calls this year too. So he's got that on his plate too.
Exactly. And I think that's encouraging because you saw Logan Wilson have his spots last year too, looking good. And I think he can take a step forward. And Akeem Davis-Gaither was definitely kind of a bit of a project. He did a little bit of the overhang role. He played a lot of slot corner in college, basically, as that linebacker. So not necessarily true linebacker. Hopefully that athleticism. We saw a little bit of that versatility as a pass rusher that he did offer. And hopefully we see that experience in coverage, the ability to rush the passer, unlock a little bit of kind of a dynamic element for Lou Anarumo to play with, to where they can play with where the pressure is coming from and generate more pressure that way to help the defensive line. But I know I've been rambling, and this is a roundabout way of saying that if you're going to be bad at one spot on your defense, linebacker is probably the spot, or like interior defensive line, just in the hierarchy of what we're saying of importance of the positions.
Right.
But there's also young guys that, while they have not been consistent, there's reason to believe that they can at least take a step forward or find more consistent play or a higher level of play with another year, maturing a little bit, and also hopefully Lou Anarumo having his guys to where there's not those injuries or LaShawn Sims that are giving up league high number of touchdowns and only 500 snaps. So I'll go ahead and let Jeff add his 2 cents on that.
I just don't want you don't want to forget about Marcus Bailey too. He's
he
all part
graded
of the,
so well, and if he's healthy,
which everybody has to remember, he wasn't healthy last year. He was still injured from college. That's the reason he dropped in the draft, and the Bengals were able to get him. So he could be also another key to this defense. And if they could, I'll just put it this way: if they can hit on all three of those guys, that's a hell of a draft in 2019. I'll just tell you that.
And that's the thing, you don't even have to, though. You've given yourself 3 young linebackers here where they don't all have to be elite. They don't all even have to be average. You just need 1 or 2 guys because, like we talked about with Ricardo Allen, you're playing nickel almost 80% of the time now or more. You're in this spot where you only have 2 linebackers. So if you have Logan Wilson out there as your middle linebacker, he's playing as the calls. If you're looking at your weak side linebacker, sometimes that might be Ricardo Allen, or if you rotate Von Bell in there for some reason, or you put Akeem Davis-Gaither there for his ability, what he can do as a coverage defender and also as a pass rusher. There's ways that you can utilize these guys to their strengths. Maybe you put Pratt out there for his ability in base downs. There's different ways you can use these guys, and you only need one to be good and another one to be just NFL average, right? Again, complete, not elite. We don't need Fred Warner or Bobby Wagner in the middle of the defense.
I'll put it to you this way. I've said this on my show. This defense reminds me, well, I don't say reminds me, but I think, like you said, they don't have to be elite. They just have to compete. If they are anywhere close to what the 05 defense was, which that wasn't an elite defense, they were very opportunistic defense. But what they did is they kept the Bengals in the games, got the ball back to Carson Palmer, and that offense, because in 05, that offense was awesome. I think this year has a very good chance to resemble the 05 season. We already got the knee injury out of the way, so we don't have to do that at the end of this year again. That's already been done. But I'm just saying, I just see a lot of comparison to from that 05 team to this team. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really do think that's what
I think there's a lot of parallels, man. I don't think you're crazy at all. And that's the thing, is that's the thing, right? Is the defense has not been near the top or even near the middle of the league in terms of generating pressures and sacks in the last couple seasons. But turnovers has been another spot where Jesse Bates has been able to produce. He's been able to also produce a lot of pass breakups. But outside of Bates, there just hasn't been a lot of ball production. So if you can find a way to force those yes, you can be a porous defense and give up 60 or 70 yards. But if you're ending that with an interception or a forced fumble and you get the ball back, well, shoot, who cares about those 70 yards you gave up, right?
Well, so, Logan Wilson had, what, two last year? Davis Gaither missed.
And he was in position for a couple more, too.
Yeah. Oh, Davis Gaither missed at least 2 of them right in his hands last year.
Right. I mean, and that's, as the game slows down for him, I think he's going to get more comfortable with that, too. And he is a very good athlete. So I think he has the capability to be one of those explosive guys. But we'll see if he continues with his development. I think he's a really intriguing piece this season. But it's definitely, you want to see those turnovers and those sacks increase. And obviously getting pressure is going to influence more bad throws, which is hopefully going to get more interceptions, right? But forcing those turnovers, you'd like to see them be able to generate at least more of those. And I think they are going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that comes with where I think that they are going to generate pressure on the quarterback. And it might not be elite pressure, but it'd be good enough pressure. I think the secondary that we have now is going to be good enough to knock down more balls than we did last year. I just think we have, and especially with Hilton coming off the edge with the I cannot.
I'll start talking all day about Mike Hilton.
I cannot wait to get to see that. Let's get this super chat here. Yeah. We'll start talking and we'll get the Rowdy's super chat here. Again, appreciate you, Rowdy. $5 super chat. It's awesome. If our offense averages 10 more points per game than our defense allows, 4 points less per game average, then we become at least a 10-win season. Yeah, and that's not a big leap there.
I think with a healthy Joe Burrow and what you've added to the offense and Jamar Chase, that's not. And like we talked about, that 4 points right there, if you're just allowing one less, hold them to a field goal instead of a touchdown for one possession, or get that one turnover, because you can go back to Chiefs ball, like we were talking about, where if your offense can score constantly to at least put points on the board, giving that one possession back is huge.
In every drive with a kick. That's why I like to say, in every drive with a kick, either a field goal or an extra point. You mean every drive with a kick, you're going to win. Sorry, keep going.
No, I like it. I was just, I got a little excited there because, it's definitely, again, it doesn't have to be great. And that's something that, as much as we believe building a good defense is a great, obviously winning teams have good defenses, but not just PFF, Football Outsiders, everyone, and especially if you just think about the nature of secondary play, it varies year to year a lot. A lot of it's about opportunity, timing, placement. Quarterback has to throw a bad ball for you to get to it intercepted. It's got to glance off hands sometimes. Like, there's a bunch of random stuff that happens on interceptions and plays like that, to where even guys like Jalen Ramsey have like slightly above average years as opposed to elite years, right? It's just, there's a lot of up and down. So with defense, what people have kind of recommended is a lot like the Bengals approach, where we don't know which corner is going to be good. So we're going to sign 5 of them. And when 2 or 3 of them aren't good, but 2 of them are, then we've got 3 good corners plus Jesse Bates, and we don't have to worry about it.
And one of them's Mike Hilton come off that edge.
I love the versatility.
To bring it up, dude. You got too excited. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So he has just been tops in pressure rate and defensive stops each of his first 4 or 5 seasons. Like, his ability to affect the run game, the pass game, is both a pass rusher and in pass coverage. He's been one of the best in the slot and since he's entered the league, and really is just an underrated defender. And it continues. The slot and the nickel, slot wide receiver and the nickel defender continue to be undervalued in the NFL, to where you can get these high quality guys like a Tyler Boyd. The top wide receivers are making $20 million a year. He's on an 11 per year. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You've got the guys on rookie deals for T. Higgins and him, and you've got a Boyd on $11 million a year. You got Jonah Williams on a rookie deal still. I mean,
I'm saying now's the time. It ain't next year.
It's so exciting to see they have these rookie contracts in all these elite positions, to where, again, it affords them the money to say, screw it. We have the ability to go give DJ Reader whatever the heck he wants to get him. If we want to get a Joe Thuney and we feel good about where he is health-wise, we can get him. And if not, oh well. But you know what? If Riley Reif doesn't work out this year, or he works out and then someone else wants to give him more money, well, I'll tell you what. Looking at I keep pounding the table about tackles. Left tackles make more than right tackles for whatever reason. Almost the top 10, when you look at them, there's and average them together, there's almost an $8 million difference for no reason. You can go buy.
I think it's because of the movie The Blind Side. That did it all.
The Blind Side, right? Yeah. Quarterbacks are looking to their left all the freaking time to make their reads. But it's The Blind Side. Whatever. Anyways, all right. So basically, they still have that misconception, right, of the blind side. The left tackle is more important. That's your pass protecting tackle. Well, shoot, you're TJ Watt's rushing for right side. I mean, that's you got guys moving all over now at this point, and so it's take advantage of that. Draft your left tackle, save the extra $8 million, and now you've got rookies at these premium positions, like we said. Now you can go, hey, the top right tackle in the league is making like $15, $18 million. I can go pay the top right tackle free agent, who maybe the second or third, and I can feel fine about paying him $13 or $14 million a year because I have a rookie left tackle. I have a rookie quarterback. I have a rookie wide receiver and a rookie wide receiver and a slot receiver on an $11 million deal. So you can go spend that money with no problem, without regret, and say, hey, let's really push the chips to the table. And I hope to see the Bengals do that in this upcoming offseason as their window opens, as you referenced earlier.
Yeah, dude, I'm fired up. I'm ready for football season.
You got me going, man.
Dude, I'm so ready. I can't wait till next Saturday. Is gonna be fun. We could actually go watch the Bengals actually in live and in person. They might be not doing a whole lot, but I don't care. It's gonna be football. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. Anyway, Evan, dude, you are awesome. It's 7:10. We've been talking for God knows how long. I'm not very good at math, so it's been a long time. But I appreciate you. Tell everybody where they can follow you and what you got going on, and You take it from there.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on, man. Like I said, always appreciate it. Happy to come on anytime. Talking Bengals is always a good time. I was a fan first, so
Exactly.
it's always a good time talking about the whole team. But definitely, everybody go check out pff.com. A lot of good fantasy stuff coming out right now. If you use the promo code SAVE40, all caps SAVE40, you get 40% off a annual or monthly subscription right now. So you really can't beat that. Go ahead, get yourself a subscription. You can place a couple bets using Green Line. You have all the game by game grades. You have everything you can need to dominate your fantasy league. And if your betting doesn't work out, it's going to help you win your fantasy leagues to at least make your money back from your subscription and then some. So check out the website, pff.com. Also look at there's a great number of podcasts. Like I said, Chris Collinsworth podcast, 2-for-1 drafts with Mike Renner and Austin Gale is an absolute riot. Always some good comedy mixed in with great analysis. And of course, the PFF NFL show with Steve and Sam. Would definitely recommend you guys check all that out.
Exactly, man. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. You've given me plenty of time to talk, and it's always a blast. So, Who Day, brother, I'm going to have you on again. This has been a lot of fun. You have go eat something. It's like 7:00. It's past dinner.
Yeah, it's about dinner time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. All right, brother. Who
Thanks,
Day,
man. You take care.
Take it easy, buddy.
See ya.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. It was a lot of fun. I know we are on for a long time tonight, and if you guys been hanging out watching the whole time, I appreciate you. Now, do me a favor. The Bengals tweeted this out yesterday, and I kind of put this on my do I have a picture of it? Let me see here. On my Twitter feed to possibly try to help me out to get yes. Yeah, nope, that's not it. I don't have it. Okay. To find out who your favorite podcast, or where you get, not favorite, but where you get your information on Bengals content and stuff. And if you guys don't mind, do me a favor, go out there and fill it out. Put your favorite guys on there. Please put me on there, because I'm hoping maybe that could help me to get some more Bengal content, give me access to players, front office people, something like that, to try to get it out to you guys as much as I can. It just helps the show out and stuff like that. So if you guys can go there, click on the link. It's on my Twitter line. It's on the video clip I did to announce what was going on the show today. It's on there. Please make sure you guys go fill it out. Put Sports Strawberry Ice on there. Put Locked On Bengals. Put Bengal Jim. Put all those guys on there. But please make sure you put me on there. I would greatly appreciate it, because I'm trying like crazy to get more Bengals content, more Bengals players, and it's just me. I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel, so I'm trying as hard as I can. But let's get to the Facebook groups that let me live stream. I appreciate every single one of you guys. They are Who Day Nation, Bengals Nation. Now, Bengals Who Day Nation changed their name. They are now Who Day Legion. So, Who Day Legion, Cincinnati Bengals, the Jungle, Bearcat Country, the Ohio State Bucknuts. And then you got the Ice Bar, which is my show page. It's just a fun virtual bar. We go there, hang out, talk sports, have some fun. You can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trenopole. TikTok is at Iceman90. I'll be pulling the sound off later on, and I know we're almost at 2 hours here, so it's been a long show, but it's a lot of fun, a lot of information. So if you guys missed any of it, you can watch again on the channel, or you can listen to it on the podcast, which, like I said, I'll be putting up later on tonight on BeanPod, Spotify, Apple iTunes, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you like, rate, and review. Download it. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Do the same thing on the YouTube channel, Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm at 1,242 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Rowdy every day. You were awesome. I appreciate the super chats. That was great tonight. I love every single one of you guys. You guys want to sit there and watch me talk? It's great. This has been my dream to do this forever. So, other than that, as my man, Jeremy D's Nuts Dimebag Dean likes to say, remember one thing and one thing only, and that is you don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati, so act like it. Who Day? We're getting closer to football season. And that's just sports, baby. See ya!